What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick Valley.
My name is Jonah Dockenai, and
this
we're
is Revolution. Jonah, is that the new thing for season 4 now?
no, this is the new thing. Now that I know how to do some metal screams, I'm gonna do them.
Good, because I'm here for it. You could warn your co-host before you create a new thing. But then again, this is Rev Rock Revolution. We don't really pre-plan anything.
Yeah, we don't plan anything.
Just gotta roll with it.
Yeah. We plan things during the episode. That's when we start planning things.
You know what? Exactly. Like our first episode back, I didn't take out a mic because I was too lazy, but we're back. And because I have a mic, you know what that means I can do? Do you know what that means I can do? Let's fucking go! I miss that so much.
Sorry to the audio listeners.
But the show without that,
not sorry.
It's not the show.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We're back. We're actually back.
We're fully back now.
Last
this is
week
knocking
was like
the rust off.
Taste. It was like an appetizer. This is welcome to the entree.
Yeah.
Because again, we are 1 minute and 10 seconds into this episode, and nothing has happened.
Yeah. Yep.
So that being said, welcome back to the show. If you've watched the show before, you know that this is not atypical for us. But if you haven't seen the show before, well, welcome to the madness, and hopefully you'll stick around. That being said, we're going to get right into today's topic because it's loaded. We made a pact that this season, all of our episodes are going to be under a half hour, so we want to give you as much content and purposeful content as possible, cut out all the fat, even though, again, we're 1 minute and 40 into this intro, and still nothing has happened.
Yeah.
What is today's episode about?
Today, we are covering everything that's been going on in rock news since we stopped last season. So we have so much to go over. It's been like 3 months.
And there's even more. I've included some things that happened just early on in the year too that we never got a chance to discuss on the show because season 3 was all interviews and we really didn't talk about anything last year. So that being said, and season 2 was all philosophical and we were talking about TikTok. And next episode
we have to talk about TikTok next episode.
Next episode we need to talk about what the hell is going on in the world right now. But that being said, we're going to talk about this. The reason, if you saw the clickbait title, this is why you're seeing the show. We're going to start talking about this. Everything that happened in rock. Starting with, Jonah, you know this is my favorite topic. I think we should just get right into it because this was like, Jonah, when we did season 1 of this show, I talked about this band specifically because we're just going to go through each band. So how we're going to do this is I have some different categories written out. I think I should start with that. Reunions that happened this year, albums that happened this year, tours, some key performances and events, and some gossip and some crazy shit that's gone down the last year as well. That being said, because that's pretty much the rock portion of this show, a part of it at least. We're going to be talking about some old rock, some new rock, some shows that we saw this year. So yeah. That being said, we're going to talk about reunions, and I don't think there's another band that we could start off the reunion topic with. It's like, it's impossible. Jonah, what band is that? Creed, I just saw a statistic, actually. Creed had their highest grossing year in 2024 as a band than any other year ever, which is crazy.
It's awesome. They're back. They're stronger than ever. Scott sounds amazing.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, they're back, but this is a new Creed. This is Creed 2.0. This is Creed rising from the ashes. Look, me, my Phoenix, I had to throw in the reference. But listen, Creed is
they came
a band
back higher and stronger than ever.
Higher. I will never forgive you for that, Jonah. Anyways, that being said,
we're welcoming with arms wide open.
Moving past that. Jonah, you won't let us just move past it. You're just going to keep digging that hole. It's okay.
Yes.
Listen, Creed has been a band that was one of the biggest in the world, honestly. I'm shocked that they have made more money this year than ever. But not even that being said, Creed had received so much hate, so much memes being made fun of over the years, so much personal struggle. Scott's life story is one of the most inspiring things. If you don't know about it, you definitely should, because if you think about what him and you just kind of compare to what's ever's been going on in your life or whatever, it puts things in perspective because the guy's been through so much and he has come back now on top, stronger than ever. He sounds the best that he has in a really, really long time. He gives 110% to every show. His band is like the biggest thing in the world again, all over. And yeah, so we have to talk about the fact that, and it was something that kind of snowballed because I feel like this past year, Creed's reunion just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Something beyond anyone, including me, like one of their biggest fans, ever expected.
No, it's crazy because I didn't listen to Creed at all before the show. And then now I listen to Creed almost every day when I'm at the gym with my friends.
I feel like I'm semi-responsible for that.
You
I mean,
definitely
you can say
are.
yes or no. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Creed, listen, was like, that's like me and my mom's band. Like, my mom loves that band. She showed them to me when I was a kid. And ever since then, like, it's been one of the things that we've really bonded and connected over. So seeing this to me, I have a different, so I love how we have two different perspectives, because I think that's what's going on here with how big Creed has gotten. And you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. And you could like, but I think the reason that it's gotten as big as it is because there's two sides of it. Honestly, my side and like your side of things. Like, my side of things is I've been in love with this band for years. I've been praying for them to come back. They've come back, and I've spent a bunch of merchandise on them. I went to go see them live. I watched every clip and interview they've done, and like, I'm obsessed because it's like one of my dreams is coming true. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And for you, you're seeing this band come out. What's their deal? Like, Creed, I've heard about them, or I've heard a couple songs or whatever, and like, you can kind of tell me your experience, but I think that's the kind of the other side of it.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was similar to like with Nickelback. Like, I heard all the memes and like people just trashing the band, and I'm like, okay, I'll give this a listen. And then I listened to it a couple times. I'm like, first couple times I'm like, oh, this is cheesy as hell. This is stupid. And then it gets stuck in your head because they're actually good songs. And then you listen to them over and over again, and the more you listen to them, the more you connect with them. And then like I actually started like getting into the lyrics and stuff, and like connected with the songs and how they have like a positive message and stuff. One Last Breath is one of my favorite. Like, that chorus hits so hard, and I play that song almost every day. I was playing that song on guitar like an hour ago.
Yeah, exactly. I was playing it the other night at my band show, which we finally did, which we're going to talk about at the end, what's going on with us. So if you, somebody who watches the show for Nick and Jonah content, we're going to get to that. We just want to get to the meat of it right now. But yeah, that being said, yeah, I mean, they have just such catchy songs, great licks. Mark Tremonti, by the way, has had one of the busiest years I've ever seen of any rock star ever. Creed, the Alter Bridge, the Tremonti album just came out. He's freaking the Sinatra stuff he was doing over the holidays. This guy hasn't stopped in like a year and a half, and he's not.
He's one of the busiest people ever. He's talking about new albums for all of his projects now.
Yes. Which is crazy. Like, listen, I have such respect for the guy. I think he's super nice. He's very like, he's one of those guys that's all about the music, none of the bullshit, and he's just really down to earth. He's a great like dad. He's like really close with it, and has contributes a lot to Down syndrome disease because his daughter's Down syndrome. Like, just really, really awesome guy. And he's very like willing and shares a lot of information. Has some of the best signature products out there. His guitars, his amplifiers. Like, he's starting a pedal board company. Like, the shit that he does is like, it's just amazing. But yeah, we can go on and on all about Creed for the entire. We can just spend 30 minutes talking about Creed's reunion and doing a deep dive analysis. And if you want that, let us know in the comments, because we will do that. Yeah.
If this video gets 1,000 likes.
Dude, if this video gets 10 likes, I'm going to do that. You don't have to convince me or coerce me into doing that. That being said, there's a lot of things that happened, and we have a whole list, so I don't want to spend all day on Creed, even though I kind of do. Okay, we don't need to spend all day on Creed. I want to spend all day on Creed. That being said, Jonah, why don't you talk about the next one? Because I never thought in my grandchild's lifetime this would ever happen.
This one caught me by surprise so much. Oasis got back together somehow. I'm surprised they haven't broken up already before.
Me too.
I'm pretty sure
they
people
haven't
were
done
like
anything yet, right?
Yeah, they haven't done anything yet. I think they're playing in like March or April. Like, that's when they're starting to play. I've seen people like placing bets that they're gonna break up before the tour, which is so funny.
Well, considering Oasis' background, if you're not familiar with Oasis, which I think most of the people watching the show are, Oasis has one of the most volatile interpersonal band relationships ever, and they're brothers, which makes it even more difficult.
That makes it even more complicated.
When they broke up, the amount of hatred they've had for each other for many, many years, I never dreamed ever possible that this would happen. They're doing some big shit, right? Aren't they like headlining some like big festivals?
They're playing some big festivals. They have a huge tour. I
just imagine on the very first show, Liam coming out and saying Oasis is no more again, and just walking off. I wouldn't even be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. I thought like
because I would love to hear them
they
play
canceled
again.
the tour. Yeah, I want to see them play again. I thought that they were going to cancel the tour like a week after they announced it.
They announced it the day after, the hour after, the minute after. But yeah, so that's Oasis. There's really not much more to say other than that. There's obviously a lot to say, and we're probably going to talk later on when they perform again. We're probably going to go back and talk about this. Another one that caught me off guard completely, I never saw getting back together or doing anything, and they did, was No Doubt. And I don't know how much of this you saw, but did you get to watch any of the Lollapalooza performances that they did?
I don't think I saw any of the Lollapalooza ones, but I think I saw a little bit from Coachella, because they played at
Yeah.
Coachella, right?
They played like 3 festivals or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So you did see that.
Mm-hmm.
That one took me off guard completely because I also came to realize, I don't know if you saw this, but I'd love to get your thoughts on this, but like just watching it, Gwen Stefani transforms into this like totally different animal when she's playing in No Doubt than when she's a solo artist. Like it's night and day. It's like an alter ego or something. I would just love to get your perspective on this because watching that was honestly eye-opening. Like I get it now.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know No Doubt wasn't together. Like I had no idea.
Bro. Shame, bro.
Yeah, I just saw that they were on Coachella one time, and I was like, oh, I'll watch the YouTube videos. Yeah, but yeah, she's a pretty good front woman, and I do see what you mean. I could guarantee that she doesn't act that way in whenever she does her solo stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen performances of hers, and it's like she's like, and I think I have to give her props because anyone who can be such a pop star in that lane and then be such a rock star as a front person of a band, like who can do both, I have such respect and admiration for her, like especially someone who does theater, acting, and like performing, like just changing that, and like that's all in her too. Like it feels both feel very authentic. So I have to give her props for that. She's very talented and very underrated of all.
Yeah, it's just a completely different beast, a rock show compared to a pop show. Like the energy is so different. So
I think that comes
I'm
from the
impressed that
audience.
she's able to do both.
Yeah. It's definitely like the crowd that she's performing for too. But even not that, I think even with the same people, just like what you're putting out there gives out a different energy. So then everything's reaction, right? So I mean, if I'm putting something out and then it's coming back, same person can perceive the same other person doing 2 different things and have a totally different experience. So that's, yeah. Totally. Another one, which I think is really big and will kind of lead us into our albums. If you want to, because this one
I was so excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one I didn't even expect it. Like even when the rumors were dropping beforehand and I forgot someone kind of leaked it. But we're talking about Linkin Park coming back with their new album, which is fire. New singer Emily Armstrong. Great choice. Yeah, it's awesome. I never thought that Linkin Park was going to be coming back. And I'm so glad they are, because I'm going to be seeing them in September with Queens of the Stone Age opening.
Are you?
Yeah.
When did you?
We got them last year, like right when they went on sale. And I was like, Queens of the Stone Age, Linkin Park, that's going to be a fire show. Xavier loves Queens of the Stone Age. And also he got me into a lot of the Linkin Park songs that were like deep cuts, because I would listen to like their hits.
Yeah.
And then he would be like, you're like, here's some other Linkin Park songs, because he went through a big Linkin Park phase. So
Yeah. I love that. For me, I had no idea what was happening. I was in the middle of I was so detached from reality when I was doing Saturday Night Fever, just for our viewers. But I remember somebody had texted me. It was a fan of mine who, honestly, one of my biggest fans. I think we should have him on the show, by the way, because this is just a weird side note. And if you watch the show, we do weird side notes and go right back on topic. Yeah. But somebody who's been one of my biggest fans from day one, has been involved in my inner circles, has been moderators in my groups, has helped me run things, boost posts, huge, has been a right-hand man for me, Benjamin Bankoff. I just want to give him a shout out because he's like a brother to me at this point, but he came into my world as just like any other fan and has stuck with me for years. But he had sent me, he's also a really good musician, you should check him out, but he sent me this video of them playing live, and I was like, at first I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know if it was some sort of tribute thing or whatever, but then I had listened to this album, or the single, Emptiness Machine, which I fucking love, by the way.
That
song
good.
Is so good. But I was like, is this really happening? Because obviously for any fan, even casual listener knows Chester Bennington was such a integral part of the DNA of that band, and when you rest in peace.
When you lose
what a
that,
tragedy.
and
what a tragedy, because that was that's one I have a hard. Him and Chris Cornell, because it was so close together too. I have a really hard time with those, because they were just the 2 of the greatest voices of that generation, and they were both gone like that.
Chester's such a big influence on my vocals. I want to be able to scream like him.
100%. Oh God, yeah. No, I am totally with you. Yeah. So I mean, just taking that out of the equation, it's how do you? But I think especially in the recordings too. Like I think she's built up too as the time she spent with the band, but like especially in the album, like she was a great choice. I'm glad they picked a female, by the way, because they would never hear the end of it if they picked another guy. So that was a smart decision.
It was a perfect choice picking a female vocalist because no male vocalist would be able to compare with Chester.
No,
because
they would have had to go in a totally different direction.
Total different direction. And also the way she sings, like her scream is different too. Like she's a completely different type of vocalist than Chester, which is perfect. So then you can't really compare the two since they're going for a different sound, but it's still at core Linkin Park.
Yeah, she's managed to keep the soul of the band without like feeling like some kind of tribute. Like no knock to him because I think he's amazing. Like Arnell from Journey, I think he's great. But I almost when I watch it, it feels like it's some sort of tribute band as opposed really, really like the best one as opposed to like a new era. And this feels like just like moving forward for them.
Yeah.
So props to them. The album is one of their best in years, which great for them to going back to their rock stuff because they had gone in a pop direction.
Yeah, they
went
really pop. But like this sounded like they were taking from like all eras of Linkin Park, and it was 100%. Just like
but starting from zero. This is the most they've sounded like hybrid though in a really, really long time. So I just want to hand it to them. That being said, in albums, there was another new album that came out. We kind of have a little bit of a correlation with something. There was a tour involved, which we're kind of not involved in, but somebody who's been on this show as a guest was very much involved in. Jonah, if you want to let them know.
In season 1, if you guys haven't watched it, I think it's episode 5. We had our songwriting coach Coley O'Toole from the band We the Kings come on, and he went on tour with a band you guys might know. They're kind of small. They're called Green Day. But
you might have heard of them.
Yeah, you might have heard of. They're really underground. They have that one song like "Basket to Paradise" or "Idiot" something
like that.
Yeah, but they dropped a new album, and that album. Oh my gosh, I love that album so much.
Saviors is one of the best
Green Day albums. In my opinion, it goes American Idiot, Dookie, Saviors.
Yes. Thank you. And I think we had a conversation about this actually. If you remember, when we talked about when this album came out on the show, we realized that their best albums all came out ending in 4 because they had 94, 04, and 24.
Yeah.
If you remember that, we had a whole conversation about this. But yeah, I remember us talking about this on the show. I think we brought it up, but anyone who did not see that because it was a while back, Coley again was on our show. I think it might have been episode 10 actually. I think he was our second guest. Our first guest was your brother. That was episode 5.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So it was episode 10. Coley gave us his whole life story and it's very fascinating. You should check it out. Like just one of those amazing
one of the coolest
90s,
people ever.
Early 2000s rock musician stories, which I love. And he's one of the most down to earth. He almost even like we didn't even ask him to be on the show. He like when we were before we even started the podcast, we were just like in talks, and we were talking on a Zoom call during our classes when we were in Mastermind, and we were like, oh yeah, Nick and I are starting a podcast, and then Coley was like, oh, that's cool. If you guys ever want a guest on it, I'll hop on. And that was before we even dropped an episode. He's the coolest person ever. And we were
freaking out in Discord.
Why the fuck would we not want to do that? So we did that immediately. We had him on the show. It just took a while. The reason it was so late was just logistics. But we had him on the show, and it was one of the best. Still, we did a whole season of interviews. That was one of the best interviews we've ever done. And then after that, he moved on to playing keyboards on a Green Day tour, which is like
crazy.
Which was one of their biggest tours too.
Yeah. That tour was so good.
Shout out to Coley.
I didn't get to see Coley because he dropped off like a couple weeks before I saw him in San Francisco. But that lineup or that set list, seeing all of Dookie played, then some of the Saviors stuff and some of the other hits, and then American Idiot in full. American Idiot one of the most influential albums of my childhood. It was played all the time in my mom's car. I could sing the lyrics to every single song. I could play the guitar to every single song on that album.
If you don't know Jonah's American Idiot story, we talked about it on another episode. It's a Green Day story. It's very cool. You should check it out. But that's because you kind of have a bit of a, speaking of your mother, relation. Yeah. That's all I'll say. If you want to dig for it.
I forget what episode it is, but I think it's in season 2.
Just look for it. Just if you're watching the show, just look through all of it. See, that's my marketing plan, Jonah. Don't spoil it.
Yeah,
then they just go through every episode and they try to find it. There you go. That being said, I just want to touch on some other things because we're already at 22 minutes, dude. We know how to rant. There's a couple of other albums that there was like an EP. There's a lot of controversy around this one. The Motley Crue thing. Let's have your face. Can we just please talk about this for like 30 seconds and we can move on? Because we hit. I remember at the end of 2023, we said this was coming out, and we were very excited about it. And then it came out. Next segment. The Warning put out a new record, which I just listened to all the way through actually recently.
Keep me fed.
God, yeah, I love them. I just have
to
say
so good. I love that they're keeping rock alive.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, I think, and this kind of segues into this, but like Rev Rock, like this genre of the new rock that's happening right now, they're at the forefront of it. They're one of the biggest bands, in the world right now.
Yeah, and they're growing like crazy, which I'm so proud of them for.
Which is great. Like, yeah. I think you've been a fan with them since like for years, like when they were
when they were just doing covers. I was following them. But yeah, the new album sounds awesome. The production is amazing. The songs are really good. They get kind of samey at sometimes. It's a little bit formulaic, but also
they do have a sound though, which I have to respect.
Yeah, they're just really good. I forget the song. There's one song I love the riff for it.
Oh my god, he's gonna search for it. While Jonah searches for that, I'm gonna touch on some tours that I saw this year. Just a couple of highlights I've kind of talked about on the show. That's a great song. And that is a great song.
They don't play it live right now.
Of course they don't.
Which I was so mad about that they.
But I want to talk about some tours that happened. I saw a lot of these. The Extreme Tour, I saw at the beginning of last year. That album, the whole 2023 Rise craze. I think we did a whole thing about this on the show. That was one of the biggest things last year. What a moment for rock music right there.
It's crazy to think that was last year. Feels like such longer ago.
Yeah, the Foo Fighters, which there was a bit of an incident with Dave Grohl back in September, which, we don't have to talk too much about because obviously I love and I respect Mike. He's one of my biggest musical influences and I've looked up to him for many years. So look, I think it just goes to show everybody, no matter how much you build up, just this era of social media we live in. Yeah. Everybody has their things. Everybody's going to, fall down.
At the end of the day,
everyone should have the opportunity to get back up.
Yeah.
Everyone has a human side. And I'm not going to comment my personal opinions on it. All I'm going to say is to Dave Grohl, I don't think mistakes people make, and this is kind of a product of the world we live in now, but the mistakes that people make add up to who they are as a person all the way through. Because you can't be the kind of person he's been for 30 years and then have these small little blips and then be like, oh, he's an asshole, he's a liar. Listen, people have their own things that are totally separate from other parts of their life. People are complicated. It's humanity. So that's all I'm going to say about that. If you want a more in-depth thing, go to some sort of gossip show because that's not what we're about. But there's a couple other things that happened, which I'll just kind of briefly touch on. There was the whole Jane's Addiction thing. Whatever happened
that was crazy.
That was nuts. I don't know what that was about, so I really can't comment on it too much. I know some people who have some personal theories about Dave Navarro and Taylor Hawkins' death. We don't need this is some conspiracy shit. I'm not going to talk about it too much on the show. All I know is there's some people I respect in the rock community who have opinions about that whole thing because he was in NHC with Taylor right before he died and he didn't show up to his funeral, and there was a lot of things. But nevertheless, we'll talk about that another time. The other thing is, and this is going to lead me back into our tours topic, is the Alex Van Halen book. First off, have you ordered this? Have you read this? Have you seen interviews?
I got it for Christmas.
Okay,
no, I got it for my birthday. I still need to read it. I've been meaning to read it because Van Halen, one of the most influential bands to me. And I just did a full listen to of Van Halen 1 and 1984 when driving to band practice the other day for X-Vammin.
What magical experiences just listening to those records. The Van Halen legacy, they're one of the most important, influential, greatest, tightest, just any word you can describe that's great about a band, you could say about Van Halen.
Exactly. And Eddie and Alex as a brother duo, that there's not as
there you go.
Nobody's ever been as tight as those two. The only two that have 100%. Ever come close is Diamond Vinny, in my opinion, from Pantera.
Maybe Malcolm and Angus. There's a couple. There's a couple. But I think Alex and Ed were so important, in my opinion, the most important to rock, just because of how much Van Halen influenced what we look at as rock today. That being said, it kind of ties into a tour that happened, and there's a lot of drama around this book because they're just not really discussed. The Sammy Hagar Best of All Worlds tour, which I saw, it was one of the best shows I've ever been to. Joe Satriani, Michael Anthony. I saw Kenny Aronoff, but
so sad
Jason
I didn't get
Bonham
to see one of the
was
shows.
the drummer. Listen, you live near Vegas. They're doing a residency, so you have no excuses, man. All I'm going to say is this. I have conflicted feelings about the book. I kind of want to read it, but I kind of don't because I know that he doesn't talk about the Hagar era at all. He kind of brushes it off like it wasn't important to them, and that upsets me. At the same rate, he talks a lot about Eddie, and I'm fascinated and want to know a lot about their early years and stuff. And yes, of course, the Dave era was probably more influential to rock. That being said, they had more, like, commercially speaking, the longevity of how long they continued. Hagar was, I'm going to argue, just as important because of the context of their history to the band, and to act like it didn't happen or because of personal shit, like that bothers me. That bothers me a little bit. But I don't know. This is not me having beef with Alex. Look, Alex, if you want to come on the show, we can have it out. But like, listen, because he's apparently doing interviews now. All of a sudden, he's been a hermit for years. No one has ever heard the guy speak, and now he's everywhere, which is crazy. But the other thing to me is like, just acknowledge it, man. Like, you could say what you want about your relationship or your feelings of Hagar personally, but like, the music is amazing. 5150 to me, like you were just talking about those two DLR albums, that 5150 and OU812 and fucking Balance, really all four of them. But like, those records I listen through all the way through all the time. Like, it influences me so much. And I think it's great music. And hopefully Alex will maybe even make a sequel and talk all about that decade. Because it was a decade. It was like 11 years of that. Because then we just get more stories and stuff. So I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. Yeah, and not just like, this is his life story. That would suck.
I was kind of surprised when I heard that Alex didn't mention any of the Sammy Hagar era. But also, I didn't really like Sammy, like, starting to talk shit to Alex because of that. Because, I mean, it is Alex's book. He could tell his own story. He gets to choose what he wants to talk about. And also, I feel like there's probably a lot more crazy stories from the David Lee Roth era. So
No, that's true. I'll tell you this, and we could move on to another topic. But like, for me personally, and I think this is not, I see both sides of it because I feel like I've been on both sides of it before, like in my personal life. But I feel like I relate to Hagar just because I know what it's like in my life to feel like I've been a big part of something and facilitate something and be, you know what I mean? And then like to kind of not be a part of that anymore and for everyone to act like I had nothing to do with the situation. I can relate to that so much. So I understand his point of view. And I think it just, I have more like, I just relate to it more. I think that's probably why I see that point of view. But I understand both. So you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
It's because of my own personal shit that I'm tapping into there. That being said, because I would be bothered too. There's another tour that happened, and then I want to talk about, I think kind of close on this, because we were going to talk about, I'm just going to touch real quick, like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We had Ozzy, Peter Frampton, Foreigner, Dave Matthews, great bands, Red Hot Chili Peppers. The Olympics performance was awesome. All that stuff was great. Also, Skid Row with Lizzie Hale. I saw some clips online. She was perfect choice.
I haven't seen any clips of that.
Yeah,
I heard about that, but I didn't see any clips.
Sebastian Bach obviously loved that.
I heard all the Sebastian Bach comments, and like they unfollowed each other on Instagram and stuff.
We need our own Sebastian Bach episode of this show, just all about him. Because, well, let's face it, when it comes to Sebastian Bach, it's always about him. But we listen. That's one of the greatest voices in all of rock. So listen, I'm saying that's me saying it out of love. But everyone who knows Sebastian, he's the epicenter and the center of a lot of conflict. So we're going to have our own episode about that. That being said, there's one thing, and I think it's perfect way because it kind of ties into old rock, new rock, and rev rock, and kind of how a big reason we kind of started this show. Oh, wait, one other thing. Maneskin's breakup. They say they're on hiatus. I don't know what the deal is.
I didn't even hear about that. That makes me so sad.
Let's talk about that next week. But listen, the last thing we're going to talk about here, because 2024 was a loaded year for rock. Like, this is just like this is like 25% of the things that happened.
Did we ever talk about Gojira at the Olympics too? Did we ever talk about that on the show? That,
I don't think
just
so.
quick note on that. That was fire. That was awesome for the metal community. No band in the metal community deserves it more than Gojira. They're one of the tightest acts I've ever seen. I've seen them play live so many times, crush it every single time. I didn't even mean to go to any like Gojira shows, but they opened for Metallica. They've opened for a couple other bands. I've seen them at Aftershock, and yeah, they're amazing. And I'm so glad that they had that experience of playing at the Olympics.
Yeah, I got to get a chance to check them out because I know a lot about them. So yeah, I got to do that. But I think one other thing I want to touch on, and then I think we're good, is, and we've talked about him a lot on this show. Wolfgang Van Halen, Mammoth WVH, I think is one of the most important bands in the new rock scene right now. I think you would agree. He's had one of the biggest years, and he just continues to grow. I mean, the first album in 21, the second album in 23, opening for Foo Fighters, and the Creed when I saw them, and I saw him solo, and he opened for Metallica, and the year that he had, and also just I feel like he just keeps going up in popularity and respect, notoriety, well deserved, because I think for years he's been fighting this nepotism.
Well deserved.
He's been fighting this nepotism thing, reputation, which doesn't even exist, which is so fucked to me because I think regardless of his name, you take away everything, which, by the way, when he plays live, he doesn't even say his name. He just says he's Mammoth, which I totally respect. I want to kind of close on this because he's been everything we've been talking about. He's kind of been involved in all of it. Like I said, I saw him 3 times this year. The bass player of Mammoth, Ronnie, follows me on Instagram. So shout out if you're seeing this clip.
Go.
I love Mammoth. They're great. I honestly one of the best bands in a really, really long time, in my opinion, just in rock. What he's doing for that space, because he writes and records and all of that stuff himself. Oh, with Alter Bridge too. Yeah, dude, he's everywhere.
Yeah, he does everything, and he's awesome. He seems like one of the coolest guys ever, and he writes awesome music.
Yeah, like all the
it's
shit
crazy
he's
because
been through.
like you were saying, like even though he's attached to that Van Halen name, and he comes from great musicians, it's hard to live up to the name like Eddie Van Halen, and I think he's doing a great job at it. And I was gonna say he doesn't want to be involved with the Van Halen. He doesn't. He's like creating his own legacy, which is cool to see.
He's like, look, listen, this is a big part of my life. This is my family. This is where I come from. But this is my own thing. And the way he's done it is just so masterful. Like, he has a very light spirit with the haters, which I love. He just goes out there and plays, has no excuses, doesn't try to put on a facade or like draw attention to himself. He just does what he does and slowly builds, slowly and surely, he just keeps building up. And hopefully I'm hearing buzzes of a new Mammoth 3 album this year, which I cannot wait for. Awesome. The first 2 albums I play on repeat all the time. I know every single song, like on guitar, vocals, like it's one of my favorite, especially the second record, like one of my favorite albums ever, period. But yeah, it's very well deserved. Great band, great guy, and I think is a great way to close out this episode just because he kind of encompasses everything rock has been about, is about, and is going to be about in the future. So,
agreed.
I mean, unless you disagree.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't have anything to add on to that. That's perfect.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's been our little analysis. I'm sure we've missed a lot of stuff. If there's something you wanted us to talk about, put it in the comments. We'll probably have to do a part 2 of this episode because there was a lot that happened last year. Probably do an episode about what's coming. But yeah, that being said, Jonah, if you want to let the viewers know real quick what you got coming up, what's going on?
Yeah, we got this week. I think this is releasing on the Monday of the week. So this Friday, we have our Monsters of Metal show at Strummers in Fresno. It's going to be a blast.
What bands are involved in that, Jonah?
Jinx, which is my band. X Vammon, which is also my band.
Which is your band.
My friends Cutie, War Scream, and Permutations. X Vammon, we're dropping our first single, which is going to be crazy. Our friends, War Scream is going to be dropping their EP, which I produced and mixed, and it turned out so good. I'm so impressed with with the songs that they wrote. Their songs are actually insane in a good way. I love their songs. I've been listening to the EP nonstop, which is crazy because normally I don't like to listen to my own mixes, but
there you go, man. It's probably because you're detached from being involved in the project, artist perspective.
Yeah, probably. But
dude, these guys everywhere.
I'm so excited.
Work on my records, multiple bands, different like, come on. And every band, I want to say, the Monsters of Metal, every band in that show has been on this podcast. So if you want to check them out, we've done interviews with all of them. If you live in the Fresno area, California, you want to go check that out, you should. Yeah, Jonah, looking forward to that. What date is that?
It is on the 1st, I think.
There you go. I just
Look
want
at
to let
me
all
not
my
knowing my
viewers
own
know
dates.
I'm working on new music. I'm going to be sharing some of that soon online, some teasers, and getting you guys kind of involved in my writing
Let's
process
go.
for Envious, my new project, which I kind of talked about in the last episode. That being said, I'm also involved in a new musical again, very local to me, so I'm not traveling all the way to Ohio. I just announced today I'm going to be involved in Disney's The Descendants at the Argyle Theater on Long Island.
Let's go.
I'm very excited about that. It's going to be great. And if you want to come see me, you're local to the Long Island area. We're going to be running from February 1st all the way to like April 6th. So you have
Wow,
a
that's
long
a long
time. All
run
the
time.
information will be on the website. If you want to DM me, I have like discount codes. I can hook you up since you're watching the show. That being said, I just want to thank you all for watching this. Again, any thoughts you have about this, anything you want to contribute, anything you disagree with, anything you agree with, anything like that, rock and roll. I feel like every year we say this, but it's because it's true. It just keeps growing and growing back into it. And it's not even like it's becoming what it used to be. It's like becoming a new thing. And I'm loving
which is a lot better than what it was in like the scene wise in the in the olden
100%.
days. A lot more
100%.
positive energy.
Yes. It's such a positive, and it's even with social media, we've talked about the gatekeepers and stuff. That's been overturning a lot too, because I think the people who really are in it for the music and not all the gatekeeping bullshit are starting to take over and really are starting to connect with each other. So, and that's people who watch this show. We put out our first episode and it immediately got a bunch of views like within 24 hours. So I'm glad that we're back. We promised you we'd be back. We had to move some scheduling to make this happen today, but I'm glad we're back. I'm probably going to say it again. We're back. Okay. We're fucking back.
Baby!
Rev Rock Revolution. That being said, my name is Nick Valley.
My name is Jonah Doc and
And this is Rev Rock Revolution. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
See y'all.